I'm of a different opinion. I think that Russia...
Putin is in Moscow to discuss the future of Russian gas deliveries, a rare visit by an EU leader since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. According to FICO, Putin confirmed Moscow's willingness to continue supplying gas to European countries. However, Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky made it clear during a meeting with the EU Council last week, "We will not allow the transit of Russian gas. We will not give them the opportunity. Any country in the globe that can obtain something cheap from Russia will eventually become dependent on the Russian Federation, whether it is tomorrow, a month, or a year from now. This is their policy. That's why we won't be shipping Russian gas anymore." Ukraine, which is reeling from incessant Russian attacks, has announced that it will shut down its pipelines. The transit contract between Russia's Gazprom and Kiev will not be renewed. It's a major issue for Slovakia. The landlocked country obtains all of its gas from Russia and, with no other options, continued to do so throughout the war, with the explicit agreement of the EU. The 27-nation union made an exception to its Russia sanctions in order to prevent Slovakia from experiencing an energy crisis. Slovakia's prime minister was aggressive, claiming, "If anyone is going to cause enormous economic damage to the European Union, it is President Zelensky." He has labeled the shutdown ludicrous. Critics claim that Fico's trip to Moscow was unnecessary. After all, Putin agreed to sell gas to Slovakia, but the country cannot obtain it without Ukraine's consent. Christine, our correspondent in Brussels, is covering the story. Christine, can you tell us more about Fico's meeting with Putin? Well, Terry, Robert Fico is only the third EU leader to have visited Moscow since the invasion began in 2022. That, in and of itself, speaks volumes. The stated EU goal is to isolate Moscow diplomatically and in all other ways. He has now issued a statement, which he has also posted on his Facebook page, stating that the reason for his visit was Vladimir Zelensky's response last week to a direct question he asked him concerning the transportation arrangement. This is an agreement under which Russian gas is carried through Ukraine to European countries such as Slovakia, Hungary, and Austria, which continue to use the gas. That meeting, as well as subsequent statements by the Ukrainian president, made it plain that Ukraine was no longer interested in extending or renewing the deal. As a result, it is now unclear how Russia's gas will reach nations such as Slovakia. So he released that statement. He also stated that they discussed ending the war peacefully, but what he truly meant was that the motivator for this visit was the subject of future gas supplies. As you mentioned, Christine, Ukraine has stated that it does not want to prolong the gas agreement with Russia for transit pipes that pass through the country. How will this affect the European countries who still rely on Russian gas? Yes, Har, this is undoubtedly going to be major. It would have a major economic impact. Several nations like Germany and Poland have now cut off Russian gas supply, meaning they no longer import gas from Russia, and it has come at a great cost. Russian petrol is significantly cheaper than the alternatives on the market. When the European Union was considering sanctions on Russian energy imports, an exception was agreed for a number of nations, including Slovakia. There are options. In reality, several investigations and publications have been commissioned. For example, there are LNG alternatives. Germany, Poland, and other countries have LNG installations. There is also the issue of other types of deals in which the gas is not Russian, but from Azerbaijan. But I believe the lesson of the story is that this would have a big economic impact on the impacted countries, which is why they are attempting to avoid it. However, in the case of the Slovak Prime Minister, you will hear reactions from Kyiv accusing him of attempting to assist Moscow in all of this. Ukraine is motivated to end this arrangement since it benefits Moscow, despite the fact that Ukraine has benefited financially. Ukraine receives a transit fee for permitting the transportation of this gas. Last year, that was almost $800 million. So Ukraine now declares it is no longer interested in assisting Moscow in any form, even if it means forfeiting this revenue. And it claims that countries such as Slovakia are assisting Moscow while simultaneously harming European security. So it's a toss-up, and I don't think there'll be much compassion for nations like Slovakia, especially because others have made the difficult decision to cut off cheap Russian gas and pursue more expensive alternatives. So that's how things stand right now. So going into the new year, what will happen? because the Ukrainians have signaled that they would not extend the deal. Christine, thank you very much. Christine is our correspondent in Brussels.